Right, Mr. Milton.
What's going on, man?
How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. How are you?
It's
How's
fantastic to
how's
see you.
how's quarantine life?
It's quarantined.
Oh, I've heard that a few times.
Well, it didn't make much of a difference for me. I'm sure if it didn't make much of a difference for you. I mean, I'm in the studio most of the time anyway. So there was a joke, funny enough, you're asking that question, the producer's joke on Facebook. And there's like, oh, we're still in the studio. I'm sure you've seen a lot of these memes. I asked a question like, oh, there's something happening outside in this world. I had no idea.
Yeah, man.
Different to me, but
We've got a lot of ants and bugs outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like the humans are gone. Let's let's go past our boundaries.
That's good.
Yeah.
Joke,
Yeah,
funny enough, you're asking that question. The producer's joke. Yeah. Oh, are you there?
Oh,
yeah,
I'm here.
There you go. I'm just trying to organize my pages so the questions would come on the right and I can see you on the left. There we go. All right, brilliant. Yeah, you're telling me about insects. Tell me about the insects.
People in the neighborhood are reporting beehives.
That's great.
Of beehives, and a lot of them are leaving them alone, let them do their thing.
Yeah,
which is it is cool. It's a bit weird. It's a bit surreal what's happening. But I hope it doesn't get to the point where I can't shake your hand and you're not okay with it.
Right.
Like it's one moment in our lifetime where something happened. Don't change everything, like let it pass and then go back to normal. Like,
I mean, look, we could talk about this all night with the whole Corona stuff. We all have our views on it, but I think, look, in a way, it's gotten people together in some way. Back in the day, everybody's looking at their phone, not bothering, but at least now people are looking at their phone, but they're actually communicating, kind of like what we're doing right now.
Exactly.
So I believe the world's going to change in a different way, and I'm hoping it's bringing people back together. It's like what you talk about nature. I have a shit ton of birds flying around my house every morning. It's great. I went for a walk in the canal when they opened up the curfew. Had a walk with my wife over there in the canal, which is 30 waters. I saw 2 spotted eagle rays. I'm a big diver, right? And I've been diving here in the Gulf of UAE for the past 16, 17 years. I have never seen them diving. I've only seen them many times at the Red Sea, but not here. And I see them in the canal in shallow surface, and they were just swimming by. I put a video actually of it on Facebook. It's magnificent. It's like, wow.
Yeah, there's some crazy animal spottings.
Yeah.
There's some crazy animal spottings. I saw a post about some camels walking in some community or something. I don't know.
Didn't we have that growing up? I used to have camels come to the garage when we were growing up.
Yeah, but then they made everything concrete, so it all changed.
Yeah, it was a normal thing, wasn't it? Oh, I have a camel in my garage.
They're like walking around. And that's what they sound like, right? When they're that's what the growl sounds like. It's really weird. It's like
they're crazy, man. I deal with them a lot. It's fantastic. Well, Brent's online. Brent, sup, dudes. Hey, Brent, what's going on, Saeed?
Brent?
Hey, Saeed.
Long time no see.
And Red says maybe we should beehive ourselves.
You're gonna be happy to have Lukey because he's the master of those puns.
Oh, is he? Oh,
fantastic. He's a master.
All right, let's not spoil it.
Yeah. Hey, Red. Yeah.
So, okay, for the people out there who are watching at this moment, I want to know, I already kind of know your history, but I want them to know your history. Put it to them. Tell me, how did you get started in the audio world or in the music world in general? Let's talk when you're a little weenie toddler running around playing with beehives and insects.
I don't like insects. All right, so my father was a musician in the army. He played the trumpet. I think I come from a family of musicians, so I think it was innate that I kind of got into it. I started experimenting with DJing at about 12, 13. There was a software called Virtual Turntables. I don't know if anybody knows it. It was pretty cool at the time, mixing tunes. I was heavily into like pop and trance and you know, this kind of electronic music of the time.
Right.
And this was later towards, say, 13. And then at 14, I got introduced to Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
Right. At 14, that's a latecomer.
Yeah. I was a latecomer. Before that, actually, I was introduced to Dire Straits, and that's when I started moving towards the rock side.
Right.
Like Dire Straits.
Dire Straits, fantastic.
Yeah, they're up there for me. And then I got introduced to Metallica's Ride the Lightning, and it blew me away because I was trying to understand what was happening when I was listening to it. And I was not into audio at the time. I was into, playing with music.
Yeah.
And it picked up from there. I got a 4-track Fostex. What was it called?
Which one? Do you remember? I had a Tascam.
No, I had a Fostex. It was a VX something 4-track. You used cassette. You used all 4 tracks of the tape.
That's how I got started. I had the Tascam 414 Mark II. I still have it.
Oh, really? I don't have mine.
I need to pull it out of storage and see if it works. Maybe get some great sounds out of it. Just run things.
Probably works. It probably works. It's just been sleeping for a long time.
Ooh, Rami's online. He says, yo, Miltiadis. What do you say? Miltonator.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, yo, hey, what's going on?
Hey, how are you? It's great to see you.
So, okay, coming back to your first.
Yeah, so and then I started, experimenting, tracking, drums and guitar and blah blah, on the keyboard and playing guitar, etc. And then I decided that's the field I kind of wanted to get into. So I went to SAE in London.
Right.
I was there for a year. I was with Preben. That's why I mentioned Preben last time.
All right. I don't know him, to be honest, but yeah.
No,
that was with Andy, right? The talk with Andy, you mentioned him.
Yes. This was back in 2001. It was 2001. Do you know Tarek Karaman?
Of course, yeah. That's how you met him?
We were in school together. We were there together.
I bought a bunch of cables off of him. He was let go. I bought probably 200 XLRs from him. It's like, give.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we were there together. And I was there for a year, learning the ins and outs, working on a Neve VR, SSL G4000, and some Yamaha desks, etc. I basically picked up everything that I wanted to pick up, came back here. I was working at NMK for a while, but on the side, I was mixing live gigs. There was a lot of gigs happening back in those days. Nerve Cell had just come out. It was around 2002.
Sorry to stop you there. Just for people who don't know, NMK is a fantastic music store out here in Dubai, and it's the abbreviation or the initials of your dad, right? NMK.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pronounce your name anymore because I always fuck it up.
You flip my name, and that's
I know
his name.
That. MK but I don't want to pronounce this. Miltiadis.
Miltiadis.
So because of NMK, so obviously there was an influence there from your dad who ran this shop, because he was distributor of. I remember, in 2001, I built my first studio in Dubai, and I pretty much built my whole studio from NMK, from the mics to
for a lot of
everything.
For a lot of engineers back then, that was the case. NMK was started in 1985.
Oh wow! So he's been here since 1985.
He's been here since 1971.
All right, I had no idea. But 85, he started in Dubai, the NMK.
Yeah, he started the company in around 85. Yeah, and it grew from there because it was mainly rentals at the time.
Yeah,
but then the opportunity arose where distribution could come along, and that's what it became eventually.
Right.
So in that respect, when I came back and all these gigs were happening, I joined a forum called Fried. I don't know if you know it. Fried.com.
I think so.
Joe Akawi.
Right. I remember my brother. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So he started that, and I met Joe through Fried. I don't remember how I came across Fried.com. I met Joe there. I met Basil. I met a lot of guys that I know today through there. because of music.
Mm.
And I just started mixing the live gigs, the Evolution gig, the Absolution gig, and all these gigs that started happening. With the Mankind back in that day, Nerve Cell when they started as well.
Right.
Man, that's so many years ago. Crap,
The
time's
metal
flying, huh?
scene.
Yeah, the
All
metal
about the
scene
metal.
in Nashwan Hall.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's Amro. Do you know Amro?
I do know Amro. Of
Yeah,
course
he's
I
like,
know Amro.
can this whole interview be done in a Christopher Walken voice? So give us a taste. Come on. You can do it, man. Come on.
Well, so
You were doing
these
live.
guys.
Yeah.
So we'd set up these gigs at the hall.
Give us
It was
the look,
called
bro.
Nashwan. What? Of all the impressions I do, this accent came by accident. I woke up one morning and I could do it because a friend of mine was trying to do it, and he'd like keep trying it, and I'd be over to him. I'm on the phone with him. I'm like, no, man, that's not how you do it, and whatever. I woke up one morning, I'm like, hey, whoa, it's a beautiful day.
Did you watch a movie the night before with Christopher Walken by any chance?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right.
No. Yeah, he's peculiar, the guy. He's I don't know. It's, his accent, it's something else. Especially when he goes up and down, and it's just like really quiet.
He's got timbre moods, I should call it.
Well, it's not only that, it's the eyes. He doesn't blink.
That's fantastic. So I'm going to jump the gun here. Actually, a lot of people are actually commenting on Fried and Nashwan Hall over here.
Those were good days, man.
Yeah.
Those were really good days. It wasn't hard to do a gig. There was no headache. No, we require this, we require that. Just go and do your thing. You didn't have to pay 1,500 dirhams per performer to stand on a stage and perform to a crowd of people who want some live music.
Where was this one? Sorry,
Al Nasser Leisureland, bro.
Oh no, shit! Right. Al Nasser Leisureland. Where was it?
Yeah. And then it was it at the end? It was
where the ice rink was.
No, yeah, but if you turned into Al Nasser Leisureland and you turn right to go to the parking of the ice rink, you go straight.
Right.
It was after, I think, where Chi was. Is that what it was called? That club, Chi?
Yeah, which used to be the lodge back in the day.
With the lodge, yes. It was right after the lodge.
Yeah.
It was a giant hall with a low ceiling, like halfway in, but big enough to house 1,000 people.
Oh,
and,
wow.
We used to get those. We used to get big numbers of attendees, 500.
People were hungry. They wanted that.
Yeah. It was live music.
I'm still there, by the way.
I know. Yeah.
Me and my wife went a few months ago. I was like, I want to take you somewhere where the bowling alley is. They used to serve beer there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was not old enough back then, but yeah, when they were serving beer.
So Nashwan, you were doing the live sound for the guys there. So sorry I cut you off. I'm just
reminiscing. No, it's all good. It happens. Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah. So I used to take all the gear from NMK. We had a Dynacord Cobra system. It was 2 tops, 2 subs, very powerful system. I had a Midas, what was it? A Verona console.
Which one is this? Is that the smaller version of the Venice or bigger?
It's bigger than the Venice.
Yeah, Venice, I think.
It was bigger. The Verona was a big desk, but more on the budget side.
Okay.
Right. I wouldn't say budget. It was still expensive. It was still an expensive console. It was a Midas, and it was made in England at the time.
Well, they're great desks. Love those. Yeah. I mean, the Venice, I love the
Venice is
beautiful. Yeah.
So the Verona was a big console. I think we had 32 channels, and then I have a rack of gear with DBXs, and I don't remember what else I had in there, but graphic EQs, compressors. Like I just put everything together, and I would just, haul them over to the hall, do a sound check 3 hours before every band. Mic the drums properly, do compression gating, etc. Mics. And then the monitoring as well. From there, I would do it.
Do you have any help
Those were
with
good
that?
days.
Any assistants who would help you, or was it all solo thing?
I
I'm
did
sure.
have, but it was more like putting the cables in, for instance, lining the cables,
Yeah, and that's
setting
what
up
you
the
need
mics,
more of.
stuff like that. But all the technical stuff I was doing,
Right.
um, it was yeah, and they sounded great. They were good sounding gigs, I
Yeah.
mean, we do have some good sounding gigs now with with Romario behind the desk. Like, this guy's a
Yeah.
natural behind the console.
Yeah.
But back then, like, we had a good community of music lovers who liked, you know, being at a live gig, and alcohol didn't even need to be a question. It wasn't even a question. You were
Right.
coming for the music.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a long time ago.
So that was back in 2001, you said, right?
2002. Yeah, it was around 2002.
And all
Yeah.
the gear that you rented was all from NMK at that time.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you managed to play around with a lot of that stuff, just having it as kind of at your disposal if you needed it, just to practice on and all that. So yeah, that's
It's just
great.
like, hey ma, I'm taking this gear. Okay.
That's like that's anybody's like dream to have, like, yeah, I'm gonna just pull this out from here, pull that out from here. But that's fantastic because you took advantage of the situation where other people would take it for granted, which is, that's the key to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So 2002, you were doing the Nashwan gigs. How long did that go for?
I think they all happened within a span of 2 years or something.
Okay.
It's a span of 2 years. Yeah. I can't remember. My memory is very bad. Like, there are highlights in my life that I remember, and a lot of other things I don't.
That's why you ask friends to remind you.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you do last night, Milton? I don't remember. I'll tell you.
What did I do last night? Oh, I gamed. Yeah. So around 2002, 2003, even 2004, we were doing a lot of live gigs. 2005, I set up a home studio, and that's when Private Government was starting.
Right.
And I just started experimenting. I was using Sonar. What was it at the time? I still use Sonar, by the way. I use the latest version. I'm a big fan. What was it? Anyway, started experimenting, recording, etc. I was working with Kieran at the time as well. I don't know if anybody remembers Kieran. No, Kieran, remember Kieran?
Yeah.
Not the drummer. That's Kieran Tauro. This guy is Kieran Sequeira. He was actually the organizer of those gigs back in that day.
All right.
Yeah, all right. He used to organize those. We put out a track. Actually, we used to record at his place because he had a setup around 2003. We recorded a song called Ungrateful Being, and it was the first song to go on radio here in Dubai on when they had the rock station. And they had just started the local talent show. They had a local talent show, and then it got taken down because somebody complained about devil music,
And the first song to be played on this particular radio station.
Yeah.
What was the radio station? Do you remember which one it was? I can't remember.
I think it was 99.3. It was the rock show. It was with a Canadian. It was with a Canadian guy. Canadian dude.
No, but I remember that time. Like, I mean, at that time in 2001 or 2, I can't remember. I released my first Abstract Collision album here. And actually, a couple of the radio stations played a couple of the songs and did interviews and all that. So at that time, I think what you're trying, is like that time they were more open to embrace what's going on here more than anything, right? It was interesting.
Yeah, they not anymore. You can't get.
Remember Miles. I had this song called Remembering Miles Davis at that time. Yeah, I know exactly. So it's a shame. It's a shame, what's
it's
going
completely
on.
Turned around. Like, everything's changed. Like, you can dream about hearing your music on the radio over here. You'll never hear good music. It doesn't even have to be metal. I'm talking about good rock music.
Yeah. But they have a station, remember the Fujairah station, which was you'd always hear white noise.
Yeah, I remember that.
Great signal, yeah. But it was a great station. Obviously, they shut it down, unfortunately. But that thing strived on for a couple of years, I think. A good couple of years, and then, it was crazy. So you went sorry, you said 2005. You started the Private Government, and that was the first song you recorded.
No,
with
the
Kieran.
first song I recorded. No, the first song I recorded with Kieran was around 2003. It was 2003. Recorded at his place, and then I set up the studio. I think beginning 2005, and then I started with Private Government. Then, if you're wondering how I came up with the name Private Government, when I was in the army in...
Oh, intrigue me, my friend. Intrigue me.
Sorry, I'm getting the years wrong. I was in the army in 2000. Shit, I don't remember. It was 3 or 4. 4. I was in the army in 2004. So from 2002, 2003, I was here in Dubai doing all those gigs, and then I went to the army in Cyprus. I was there for about 7-8 months, I think.
And that was mandatory, or you?
It was a mandatory service, but I went to get it out of the way, because every time you fly there, if you want to leave, you got to get an exit permit.
Yeah, I had that.
So I was 22 at the time. So I was treated a bit differently because I was not 18. I was 22.
Right.
Anyway, so the captain, we used to call him Rambo, big dude, captain of the company we were in. He used to call me Private Government. Why
is that?
Because my last name means government, Kyvernitis. Then you have gubernador in Latin. So it comes from Greek. The word government it comes from Greek. If you put it together, Kyvernitis, government.
Right. So okay, now we learned something new about the last name.
Yeah. So because I was speaking English, my Greek wasn't any good. I mean, it's okay now, and I learned a lot of it in the army, the Greek, because hardly anybody spoke English. I had to, yeah. So this guy used to call me Private Government, and it just stuck. So, cool. Yeah.
That's how Abstract Collision for me came as well. Funny enough, when I was in America, and the guys used to always call me Abstract because I always played this abstract shit. I'm like, all right, cool. So there you go. Well,
so 2005, we started with the Private Government stuff. That took a few years to do. I had Basil on there. I had some other people on there. Kieran, Joe. Yeah, Joe was there. And it was more a very experimental album. I wanted to work with different musicians. As I always do. I still like to work with different musicians, because it's like we were talking about earlier, that 2 people, 3 people can make great things. So I might lay the foundation, but the foundation might not be what makes it great. It might be that solo that dude came up with, or that bass line that your brother came up with. Your brother, by the way, #1 bassist.
Rami, #1.
This guy
he's on there, by the way.
He makes the tunes. Like, I cannot believe this guy. I asked him to record bass tracks for some new music we're working on. Joe and I were like listening to it, our jaws on the floor. It's like, what the hell? Like, what does this guy do? He just sits there, it's like, all right, done, send. Very quickly. And it's like, oh, can you record a video for it? It's like, okay, I'll try and remember what I recorded. 2 weeks later, gets it note for note. It's like, what the hell?
Oh, he's great. He's amazing. Rami is amazing. So we got a quick question here. Brent's asking, what mic are you using right now?
Mackie EM USB.
It's an USP, guys.
It's a Mackie EM USB. It's a Mackie EM USB. It's take the USB-C, you plug on the phone, it's record. It perform live. Yeah. Why? Does it sound nice?
I guess. I think he's just curious to know. Legendary name. So cool. Wodia says, that's great. And Amro says virtuoso. I think he's talking about Rami. Cool. Where's Rami? Is he there or is he left? Rami, are you there? Say hello if you're still there. Not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. So with the Private Government, I'm sorry, I'm keep jumping off the gun. It's just it's great just to get everyone involved while we're doing this. You're into what?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So what did you release at that time with Private Government in 2000? You just released one song, a single?
No, we released an album in 2009 through CD Baby. I think they had this CD Baby. They started, was it 2007 they started?
No, I started when they started in 2001.
Oh, it was 2001 they started.
When I was emailing Derek Sivers, who's the owner. Yeah, it was like one-on-one. He started a fantastic platform, I have to say, because he gave us all a chance. And at that time, there wasn't the MP3 downloads; it was CDs. So and he's like, I can distribute it everywhere. So I actually did many countries, but dude, it was so expensive because I had to print CDs. I had to send them to these countries, whatever. And you can't, they wanted 10 a pop or at least 5. I'm like, shit, man. And it costs a lot. So I ended up spending a lot more money and not making any, which is fine, but to get the music out there. And then they started the whole streaming, and the MP3s started coming in and all of this stuff. So
but that's how
I'm still with them. I'm still with CD Baby. Funny enough, all my albums
yeah, same.
Still
same.
there. They're fantastic.
My new album is through CD Baby.
But they're still the company, by the way.
And you told me this. Yeah,
I'm still in touch with him. Actually, he sent me an email a week ago. He's a crazy guy, man. And the way he sold it was fantastic. He's like, I sold it for $25 million. He gave all the proceeds to music schools and anything got to do with music. And he's into programming right now. He's been to Dubai. So next time you come, I'll give you a tour. And this is a guy you want to speak to. You know what I mean? And he's really cool, man. He's very knowledgeable. So I told him, listen, man, we're in touch. I put out these albums. Can you promote it for me? He's like, dude, if I do that for you, then I have 999 other bands who I know have been asking me the same question. But I love the album and all of this stuff. I'm like, great. I mean, it's great, but can you just...
Man, hey,
I understand. Yeah, just...
I could do it for you, but then I got 1,000 others behind me who I have a similar relationship. They ask me the same thing, but I love your music.
Yeah, exactly.
Very right. Christopher Walken line.
Maybe we should get them both in a room and see what happens. Yeah. So, yeah, man. So how was what did you call that album? Sorry, I'm not.
I called it Diavatirio.
Right, and what does that mean?
Passport. In Greek. Because it was my,
and passports and borderlines and I don't know what.
I don't know. It's a big change from passport to come and take, which is a very war-like slogan that they use in, war stories.
Right.
Yeah. So it was a very experimental album. Every track is different. I tried to keep a consistency in sound. I was never happy with that album. I was never happy with the drums.
You're never happy with your first album. I listened to my first. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
I mean, a lot of people like some of the songs on there. I like the songs, but I would redo them, and maybe eventually I will because they're good tunes. They just need a modern sound.
But you know something, Milton? Mike Stern, he's a famous jazz guitar player who I met over here, and actually I was talking to him about this. He's like, forget about it, man. It's like that, and that's what stuck to me. And a lot of people actually said that, but he said it to me, and he's like, that was a moment in your time. That time is done. That was your CV at that time. Move on. You don't need to go back. Because I kept thinking, I need to redo this and that and that. I was like, nah, fuck it. That's who we were then. We're, you're maturing, your music matures, your performance matures, as long as obviously you're progressing yourself. And that was just a captured moment,
That is true.
What the hell were we thinking? There's some cool ideas in there. And for me personally, the first abstract I did was all recorded live. And where it was recorded, do you know Paul Hirschspiegel? Have you ever heard of Paul Hirschspiegel?
I know Paul Hirsch.
Yeah.
He used to be here. He was in Creative Kingdom?
No, but I think that was after he left Zayed University. He used to teach head of audio there.
Yes. There you go. Zayed University. I met him there. I was delivering some mics.
Yeah. Do you remember what year that was? Are you talking about in Al Gusais Zayed University before they opened the new one?
Was it Gusais? No, it wasn't Gusais. It was the new one.
Yeah, it's probably the new one. I knew him from.
It was the new one.
And we recorded. Do you remember Praveen? Praveen was on drums at that time.
Yeah.
And we were in these locker rooms, and I had my amps 2 rooms down. His drums was here. Recorded everything live. It was fantastic, and I learned so much from this man. You have no idea. That was in 2000, end of 2000, something when we were tracking. Sorry, I'm bringing this up because it's important for this community to know, there are these people or these founders that kind of, brought a lot to the scene. He's such a lovely guy. And where was I getting with that? And, I'm not sure. I've always believed in recording everything live. That's how I did most of it, except the last 2 albums I did. I thought you capture the moment, the dynamics, and, you work on the music and whatnot. But he was a pinnacle because there was, I forgot their names, to be honest with you. who owned a Flickr show. Do you remember Flickr show?
Ahmed.
Ahmad. But
I went
those,
to school with him. Actually, Ahmed, Serge, and me, we were in the same school.
where are you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Serge
So
was, I think, he moved from Mawakib.
that's how I
And I
met
got
Ahmed.
introduced.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ahmed and Yusuf. Ahmed and Yusuf. Do you know?
Yusuf.
Yeah, taller guy. Ahmed was like the half native, half
Yeah, half
UAE
Native
guy.
American, half
So
Emirati
they were
guy.
there. That's how I met him. They were Paul's students at that time, and they were
Yeah.
assisting during the recording. So when they graduated, they decided to open up. It was called the Flickr Show, and they opened up a studio somewhere in Alcoz, and then we lost kind of track from there. But it a big learning curve, and that's what inspired. I'm going to open up my own studio in a porta cabin in a construction site. That's where I opened mine, the first one. Fantastic, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Just brought back some memories.
It's okay. It comes and goes, right? That's just how it is with these conversations.
Yeah.
But I forgot where I was.
We were talking about private government, and you released it in 2009. And my
2009 we released.
Yeah, how did you? What was at that time? What were you thinking? How did you approach recording this at that time? First of all, like, how did you manage to write all the songs? And how did you think of it sonically? Obviously, we were young at that time, and you were thinking differently. So, how was your thought process at that time, if you can remember?
When I used to write or come up with tunes in my head, it would be I would have a guitar with me, and I would be playing riffs, and then something would stick. I would keep the influences in my head. Metallica is one of them, but I wouldn't say so much, because it's not the same style. Like they're a big influence in my life with music, but I was more on the experimental side. So I used to sit down and riff out, and I'd hear a tune in my head and play it slowly, and then start playing it the way I'd want to play it. But it was always in my head. It's not like I put down riffs and said, okay, I'm going to use that. It was all in my head. I heard something. Sometimes I'd record it on my phone,
right.
And mime it or something. So something like that. And then come home and record it. Decide at what tempo I would record it. Put down a basic drum track. And yeah, it would. That's generally the direction it went. Vocals always came last. It was not like Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was a complete reverse. He had the beat in his head, and then he come up with the.
That guy was a genius, man.
I know, man.
Like, kudos, man. Fucking what a dude, man. Like his music, yeah. Okay, so
I love it.
When you thought of this, so at that time, obviously you like in the recording or in music production, we always think, what do we have around us that we can use or make best out of to encapsulate or envision our vision, and at that time, did you know the people you wanted to record on that song or album that you put out at that time? Did you did you know how to pick him at that time?
No.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it is.
But there's cool accidents, I'm sure.
Yeah, there was like Lukey, for instance. We on that track, there's a hidden track that comes in after the 12th track, I think, 1 minute in. It's a cross between it's kind of new metal-ish, not exactly. He raps in it. Basil is in it as well. He performed really well. That track was a killer track. Like, it was like a lot of people enjoyed.
What's the name of the track, so guys would know?
Bloodthirsty Dynasty. But it's a hidden track in the album, but I think it's online. We re-uploaded everything to Angami, and I think I put it on there as a separate track.
If you got a minute after this, can you throw a link on the comments of that track, so if people are curious to hear it?
Hold on, how do I do this?
You don't have to do it now, but if you want to do it later, that's no worries. Just
yeah. So open Facebook, right? Open Facebook. Oh,
no,
right.
on YouTube, on the YouTube channel.
There we are. Whoa, that's weird. So when it came to picking musicians, I like Basil's voice. He has a deep voice, and he sung well at the time. I don't know now. I haven't heard him sing in a long time. He kind of got out of that, singing thing though. Kieran was a great guitarist, so I had him perform in the album as much as possible. Joe as well. Actually, one of the tunes, Joe, it's entirely Joe's composition as well. He's a great guitarist. I think he underestimates himself. Who else was there? There was another guy called Amro, not Amroth. It was another guy. He sings on a track called Breathe. I think I chose these guys based on what I had heard them do.
Right.
With the new album, Joe was on it from the start. I chose Rami because I thought that what he did with the Aneurysm album made it what it is, sound-wise. If you had any other bassist on there, for me personally, as somebody who listens, it wouldn't have turned out the way it did composition-wise, because
Right.
he played a lot of the parts like a third harmony, you know. So you had the two guitars, left, right, rhythm.
Well, that's how you have to play bass.
Yeah, exactly. And what Rami did with Aneurysm was, I was like, I want this guy on the new album.
Did you know Rami before, or
I knew Rami before. He was teaching a friend of mine called Richie, bass at the time. But I don't remember if I had met him before that. No, I did meet him before that, but it was very brief. I remember going to a board gig. I can't remember where it was. It was in Dubai somewhere. You know, the Mookies were there. Yeah, the Mookies were there. Serge was there. I think Serge had hair at the time as well, long hair.
Nikki's online. Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Nikki's Prince Prav's brother.
Yes, I know.
All right.
Nicky came later.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, he came with a vengeance musically.
He came later. He performed at one of the Ascent events that we had with what was her name?
Yeah.
One lady. I forgot her name. What was her name? Remind me, Nikki. I don't remember. My memory's very
poor. Do you remember her name? Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Balls.
Hey, get on here.
I'm going to tell you a little story about me and Nikki. And
tell me.
Why we call her Nikki Two Balls, by the way.
If it was 3 balls, I'd be like, okay. But 2 balls?
So his brother, Pritham, who's an incredible guitar, for me, he's one of my favorite guitar players. He's got such groove. Like, he's a metal player, but when he plays, he's got such pocket. It's so beautiful, you know. Nikki's a different style, and Pritham's. I've known Pritham obviously. Well, he's just. So anyway, so I'll tell you the little story about Nikki Two Balls. All right. So it's Pritham's wedding.
Nikki Two Balls. All right.
Two Balls. It's Pritham's wedding, and I don't know too much about wearing a suit and all that because I was never really a suit wearing person. And funny enough, I still have the suit since then. So Nikki's like, let's go to Dubai. We'll make you a suit and make me a suit. I'm like, cool. We both made the same suit, right? And then we went to collect the suits. They put your name on the side, right? They put my name in there. He opens up his thing. He's like, hey, my name's Nikki Two Balls. I couldn't stop laughing. So he's like, hey, Nikki Two Balls, what's going on, eh?
So, it's such a mafia name. Hey, don't you know Nikki Two Balls?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to copy a link on SoundCloud that has been there for a while. And I'm going to put it, how do you put it in the comment section? There we go. Yes. Check this out. You're going to find an old Abhorred track on there. There we go. The Abhorred. Nice.
Slap
Structures of Madness.
All right, let's get into the series of audio production. So 2009, we're still stuck over there. Yeah. How did you track this stuff at that time? Where did you do it? You did it, and you said you had your studio.
I did it at my place. I don't remember what audio interface I had. I think it was 2448.
Forget about the interface. How did you track the guitars? Let's say, did you do it live?
I mic'd it. I mic'd it at the time, and I had to do it at a time that my folks weren't home. I was living with my parents at the time.
Right.
Yeah, I had a JM60 Johnson amplifier.
What is a J?
Uh,
Is that a Marshall?
Johnson. It was
John.
an old brand
The
called
old,
Johnson. It's very
they
old.
had this like nice signature going on, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it used to always remind me of Johnson and Johnson for some reason, the shampoo. And it was more of an emulator as well within that app.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes,
So it was
it
kind
had
of
a lot of
that
emulations
was
in it.
the
So
step one. Yeah. Okay, I remember
yeah,
that.
so at that album we mic'd it. We mic'd the guitars, lead and
Did you
rhythm.
double mic it? Did you double cap it? Or did you single mic it? Do you remember?
No, it was a single mic. It was a single mic at the time. It was all very experimental at the time. I didn't even really focus on my guitar tone,
Right.
because there was a preset on there that I liked, and then I tweaked that preset, but that was that. It wasn't like I was, pressing for, a particular guitar tone. It was more
Right.
of a performance-based sound that I was looking for, and that tone gave me that.
Right.
Um,
So you got the tone right away.
so I got the tone that I wanted. It came with
Yeah.
a lot of overtones, but I did what I could with the parametric EQ that I was using.
What's an EQ?
It was
No, no, I'm just kidding.
sorry.
I was just asking you, what is an EQ? I don't know what an EQ is.
I don't know either. It's just something. It's just so
You, you sweep and shit and all that.
And drums were programmed. With the fingers.
Yeah, I hate that crap. I hate the whole program drums things.
Have you seen some crazy drum players that use their fingers to play drums on a
Yeah,
keyboard?
I actually performed with one guy here. He came from New York or whatever, and he had this thing, and he was great actually. But I was like, okay, cool.
It's freaking
you're
nuts,
fast with your
dude.
fingers.
It's nuts. I've seen a guy do like crazy tom rolls with one hand, 3 fingers.
Sure, the ladies love him.
Yeah. So bass, it was a line-in. Synths, from my synth that I have over here, my keyboard synth.
Nice.
I didn't use any sounds from Sonar at the time. I was using mainly my okay, this is really weird. I'm going to close the window of YouTube because seeing myself do everything.
And there's a 20-second or 1 minute relay.
Yeah, it's really weird.
That's why I told you, just put it on the side. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Okay, why are you remembering all of this?
Huh?
Okay, yeah, go on. Now I'm just reading the comments right now. There's a few comments and stuff.
Read them out. What are they saying?
Let me follow up 1 sec. I need glasses. I realize these days, man, everything's a bit too far. Anyway, sup, family? Haha, I did.
Is there something wrong with your cornea or something?
I think he's commenting on the suit. It's like, I grew out of mine. Funny enough, I still have mine. It's the only suit I ever owned. I've stitched it so many times.
I'm pretty sure that Nicky's aware. The next time I'm seeing him, I'm gonna be, hey, Two Balls, how you doing?
Exactly.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We got some family friends and all that stuff going on. So okay, I got the gist of. So when you attempted to start mixing this record,
yes,
right? Here's a little philosophy. Okay, now I know we're having fun and all that, but there's something about mixing your own stuff in comparison to other people's stuff, and
sucks ass.
It's not that. It's knowing when to stop.
That's why it sucks ass.
But there's there's one thing about here we can talk about. This is interesting. Like, I've been mixing this record lately, and you want to impress your client. You want to give them the best that you can. You'll always get revisions because you have to meet their vision and all of this stuff, which is fair enough. You get the sonics to the way they want, and you balance everything out beautifully and all that. And it's trying to hear. Well, I mean, for many years, I'm always thinking for me, I always put into mixing's performance and whatnot, we are performing, is knowing when to stop. And how to do that is knowing your kind of inner voice, then overdo it. So, example, if you prematurely send a mix, I'm going to get back to our mixing our own thing. So it's kind of the similar thing. If you prematurely, if you send me a mix example, hey, Asad, mix a song for me. great. And I sit there and I mix it, blah, blah, blah. I get all excited about it. But you know that point when you're excited about mixing the song and you feel like it's sounding good and all of that, but then the next morning you hear like, what the fuck was I thinking? You know, we've all had that. And why is that? Because I think in our heads, we are distracted by excitement rather than, okay, let me calm down and get this. You might love, you know, I'd probably be loving this song. Like, wow, I want to send it to him now because it's driving me, but I'm not thinking in a different perspective. And you end up sending it prematurely where, you know, whoever's the client or whatever says, I'm not sure you're going in the right direction, blah, blah, blah. And then you hear it and like, what the fuck was I thinking? Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm going to get you back a good mix. So then that's when you start gearing up your head and putting, there's no perfect mix. There's no, it's all about getting the energy of the mix out, isn't it? And then there's knowing when to stop. So this is the premature, let's say, can I see my hand? Like this is the premature area. Knowing when to stop is center and overdoing it is here. There's no perfect mix. If it sounds good, it's when you need to stop tweaking. You know, that stop, that inner voice is like, oh, I need to go into my, because it's nice to touch the knob. Stop.
Is that an overtone on the rhythm? Okay, let me turn that down. Okay, narrow Q. Oh my God, another overtone just came up. Oh my God. I said, keep going, keep going. Phase.
So sometimes there's certain frequencies that they might sound harsh in the mix, but they make the song sound good. And sometimes when you clean them up too much, they just sound too clinic and it takes the life out of it. You get what I'm saying? And
100%. And
it's always difficult. So this comes back to your music. When like my last record, what was it called? Down and Dirty, a year ago I released, or the one before that, which I did.
It's a good record.
Scratch. Thank you. Is I had like 35 revisions of each mix I did. Just to nail it. Now, the reason why I bring this up, I'm sure you went through it as well, is like, it's got to be done the way I hear it, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you forget the point on, like for me, because I tracked a lot of the stuff myself, you forget how do you track it, the source. If you wanted this sound, why didn't you work on the source? Like certain things I recorded, like you were talking about the Johnsons, like I didn't think about the source well enough for me to envision the sound. So this, opens up another subject. Is for me, it's all about the source. First comes the performance. Performance is king. Then the instrument, right? Which leads to the source. To get that beautiful source where it's already mixed, it already sounds like how you want it to sound on a record. That's the key, isn't it? But sometimes you get too excited because you want to track stuff so the ideas won't go away, and then you won't make the time to retrack it for a beautiful sounding source. And I'm sure we've all been there, right? And you say, okay, fuck, I need to fix it in the box. This idea of fixing it in the box for me is bullshit. But nowadays, obviously you get, not I'm saying from you as a perspective, but nowadays we'll always be getting sources or tracks that really need a lot of fixing. You know, you have to do that. But when you're doing your own thing, I would rather take 4 hours getting a beautiful sound out of the source and then tracking it rather than just getting the sound and okay, let's go with it. But there's two plays behind it. Please stop me, you know, when I'm going. And if anybody on the chat line has any questions, you know, or we'd like to, how do you feel about that example? You know, I know Amroth and Nikki and Brent and Rami and all these guys, they know what's up with that. So, sorry, in correlation to you, Milton, I'd love you to add something to this.
I'm 100% with you. Like you evolve over the years. It's like you said with the Abaderio album with the guitar sound. I got my SM57. I hooked it up to the cab and did some tweaks on it. But it wasn't the best sounding amp, but it was what I had. So I went ahead and I recorded it.
Yeah.
Now, like a few years later, like you look back and you think, you know, I should have really focused on getting myself either a really nice amp or a nice amp sim. But back then, amp sim sucked. I should have really focused on the source. And for me, the source, it's 100% is, you know, it makes or breaks your track at the end of the day. I experienced this with hip hop artists. You know, I've worked on a lot of hip hop tracks, primarily because of the recipe, you know, and a lot of collaborations that we do, etc. I've worked with other producers who work with the recipe, and they're great producers. You know, they make beats, very nice beats, but sometimes they'll use really poor sounds. and I'll receive it and I'll tell them, listen, guys, if you guys have time, why don't you update your sound library? Choose better sounds. This sounds extremely electronic. If you're going the hip hop route, yeah, I understand your 808s and your rim shot snares, etc. But old hip hop started with acoustic kits. That's why we like the old stuff, hip hop and rap and whatever. But it's all played live. It wasn't just sampled with 808s and whatnot and claps. Those nasty claps. I hate those claps.
It still got that legendary sound, man. If you know how to tweak.
Yeah. So when they change those sounds and they put good sounds in there, it completely changes the overall sound. You lose that artificialness to it,
right? Exactly.
That you get with a lot of tunes. And it's the same thing with, say, I got to tell you about this experience I had with the Point of View, with their album Revolutionize the Revolutionary. It's one of my favorite works with bands that I've worked with, like them and Juliana Down as well. I really enjoyed working on their stuff. I had mic'd their kit. We were recording at a guy's house called Chris Ryan. I don't know if you ever knew him. He was a young guy. He was 16 at the time. I was already in my this was in 2000. What was it? 2011 they released? Yeah. I had mic'd their kit. He was an enthusiast in recording, and he's still doing it. I think he studied I can't remember where he went to college, but he took it on,
Right.
So I wanted to work with him because we didn't have a high budget for the band, and he offered, and we said okay. So he had a small I think it was a Pro Tools or Logic setup. I can't remember what it was. So we set it up in his living room. We had gobos as well to help a little bit with, sound flying everywhere. I mic'd the kit, and everything was great. We had some good mics on there as well.
What did you get on that?
We had some Shure. To be honest, I don't remember. I'm not one of those that remembers 100%. I want to capture a good sound. I'll capture the good sound by micing it and then sitting and listening and keep doing it for 2 hours, 3 hours straight until I get the sound I want, then leave it. Somebody messed that up for me the next day.
Oh, they moved stuff around?
Oh, no, they replaced the mics.
What?
They replaced mics. You see, I couldn't be at the recording session.
Right.
I couldn't be at the recording session because I had work. So I came the night before. I set it up for them. I'm like, all right, guys, nobody touch this. All right. This stays the way it is. You're going to record 10 tracks tomorrow and that's it. Then I find out somebody changed the mics.
What happened?
I know who did it. I'm not going to say. I like the guy.
Why did they do it?
I don't know.
Were they tracking? Were they cutting it?
Was he tracking? No, he wasn't tracking. He wasn't tracking it. It was somebody else who was going. He wasn't the one who was going to perform, but he was an aspiring engineer, and I guess he wanted to just remic it. Nevertheless, when I only found out after I received the tracks in the studio, right? Because I set it up, I set up my session and laid out the tracks, I labeled them, etc., and blah blah. And I'm listening to it, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this? I didn't do this. This is not my miking." And I called Chris, and he's like, "Yeah, they came and they changed the mics." I'm like, "Why?" I lost it. The snare, the hi-hat bleeding into the snare mic was out of this world. I don't know how I got it to sound the way it did, but it was a nightmare fixing it. 10 tracks, right? 10 tracks. Nevertheless, I love that album, but the drums, I will never forget the ordeal I went through fixing the mistake. They wanted to
call you and tell you, to change mics.
Nobody. That's why I asked that question last time. Has anybody ever come in and messed up your setup? And he's like, nope.
Oh, all right. Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Because I still remember it. I'm like, why would you do that?
You didn't kill him. That's
Well, what can you do? It's already done. The time's already spent. The tracks are already done.
yeah, as
I'll
well.
see what I can do post. And I managed. And it had Bumblefoot's endorsement as well. So I think I did a pretty good job fixing a mess.
That's
But we tracked. That album was particularly fun to track. I had Royden come in, Nick came in as well.
Did you do it live or was it broken
No,
down?
it wasn't live. They weren't performing at the same time. They had to come into the studio, and they did it's on scheduled days.
Right.
Working with Nick as well, because Nick is a good vocalist.
Yeah.
I helped him a lot with his accent because he has a very strong Indian accent when he speaks, especially like with the T's and everything.
Yeah.
So part of my role sitting in there as a producer when they came to me is like they wanted me to help them with their sound. A lot of the synth work that's in that album comes from me. Ideas that pop in my head. I'm like, why don't we do this with this track? Let's try this out. Let's throw these strings in there, violins, etc., and blah blah and whatever. With Nick, the challenge was to get him to perform and refine his accent for the performance. It was a real mission, man. It was very difficult. Have you ever sat with somebody from India who has a very strong accent and you tell them to say, like, for instance, I'm sure Brent's laughing right now. You tell them to say V and they say we. Have you ever experienced that? They always for a lot of them, it's very difficult. So it was a real mission trying to get Nick to say th, for instance, instead of t. Because it's in their, it's their language. At the end of the day, it's something they're used to. I'm not making fun of it.
Right.
It is what it is. And it's normal. Yeah. But that was a real mission. And so when we fixed it, when it eventually came to him hearing himself, put my tongue between my teeth and do it. It was great. Tuning his vocals, hardly any. He's very good in the studio.
Yeah.
Nick. I used my KSM 32. Was it 32 or 27? I don't remember. It was one of the KSMs from Shure.
As you said.
Sorry?
Brent's laughing himself as he said. There's just one comment from Amroth. Maybe his ego made him do it. Ego's a destroyer of art. I think he's talking about the mic, the guy who placed the mic. Because they're relayed right back 20 seconds. So I'm getting the message.
That might be. Amro, you might be right. I don't know. You might be right. We'll see. I don't know. I think so. Maybe. Yeah.
So, speaking of egos and that, and we chatted about this before the show, it's a subject that hardly ever comes up. Let's talk about conflicts in studio.
Okay.
Yeah. So, example, you're engineering or producing or even performing as a musician somewhere, and you have to alleviate a conflict. Let's say you're the producer or engineer, right? And the singer comes in and does this big ego thing on the musicians for not playing their parts and whatnot, and not knowing how to, example, deal with the band members. Because unfortunately these days, I have worked with a lot of singers, man, when I was in the corporate scene doing live, and I've worked with a lot of fantastic egos, let me put it this way. Empty ones and good ones. and good ones. I'm not gonna say no, but it's funny enough. It's just a cliche thing. It's not everybody, but and they will treat other, especially in the studio. In the studio, you want to be pumped up, you want to be motivated, you want to be inspired, and you as an engineer sitting in between those two people know exactly what needs to be done. But you also at the same time. Okay, sorry, let me rephrase all of this. When you're hired as a producer or as an engineer, you're hired as this alpha figure coming in to execute this vision of this band, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But you're not the only alpha in the room. There's going to be, the other alpha, which is the singer or whoever it is, whoever's written the music. So you have to work together. Now, what is your approach, example, of deviating these matters where you need to get from point A to point B and keep everybody inspired, because that's part of our job as well.
You see, it's very easy to
knowing This is why I'm saying that. In a good way, don't get me wrong. But some people misunderstand, you know?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do. It's very easy to get angry and lose it in an environment full of emotional people. Musicians are emotional people. Okay. Um, when you're dealing with divas, the first thing that I learned over time is you have to know who they are, not who they are personally, like you've known them for years, but based on first interactions, you can tell what kind of person a person is. You know, based on how they talk, what they say, how they respond to the things you say. It's all psychology kind of things. Uh, and this is something I've learned over the years. You have to know who you're talking to.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's not about being sensitive to them. It's about knowing how to relay the message to them without them distorting what you're saying. Now, there are a few cases where you just
Good way of putting
smack
it.
them, you know?
You have to put your foot down sometimes. They're
Oh,
always,
I've always been like that. Like,
but knowing how to put your foot down.
yeah,
That's
exactly. No, it's about knowing how to relay what you want them to hear you say,
right.
so that they understand you and say, okay, maybe they don't let the ego get in the way of that. And it's difficult for there's a lot of good singers out there, and it's especially prevalent in singers, vocalists. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Getting the message across to them sometimes can be a mission, like a real mission. Like it can break down into fights, and it always has to do with emotions, because most of the time they don't think. I'm sorry, like, they don't think. Most of the time, there are the few that do. There are the few that listen, to understand, not listen to retort. And it happens in everyday conversation, but most of the time they don't think. They only feel what they want to feel, and they take things they want the way they want to take them. So you, as a producer, your job is to make them sound as best as they can. You have to deliver, and you're going to do that no matter what. You're not going to let this guy screw that up for the whole band. You've got a dedicated bassist, you've got a drummer that's
Everybody,
they're generally very laid back.
not
drummers.
everybody.
They're not.
Trust me, I've worked
Yeah.
with some,
Yeah.
with those shit
So
musicians, man. As a
so
performer,
yeah, exactly. You want it all to gel. You want them all to gel.
Yeah.
So, and most of the time, these other guys don't know how to handle this dude.
so that's where you
You
come.
know, that's where you come in as a producer. But it's like I said before, you have to know how to say what you want him to hear, so that he doesn't
Fuck it up.
build that wall,
Yeah.
and screw it up. You be like, listen, man, I'm doing this for you, not for me. I'm a producer. I'm sitting here. I've been doing this a long time.
You got to do it with the Christopher Walken accent.
I've been sitting here a long time. Okay, 2 hours. Now we can do this one of two ways. You do it the way you want, and I know, and I promise you that nobody's gonna like it, or you follow my advice. 20 years of experience. Do it. I promise you, gold record. Something like that. But it's again, it's like
Amazing.
it's like listen, man, a lot of them are like that. I don't know why.
You know what it is? What I believe it is, it's maturity in music. So, I mean, I've been there down the big ego lane thinking I know my shit, and I didn't know fuck all at that time, and I still don't know. And then you mature, and you start. It's an insecurity thing.
100%.
It's 100% an insecurity thing, and it's also being under pressure in a studio where the time is clicking, and people are depending, and all of that. So I think also, like, in correlation to what you're saying, is the reaction of how they deal with the environment. So in a way, for what we do, we are the mediators, and we try to create this really inspiring, comfortable atmosphere for the artists to come in. Because don't forget, you and I are artists as well, so it now when we're producing or engineering, we're putting ourselves on the other side of the court. rather than the recording side, you know. So we see both ends. Musicians who are not doing that, they see one end, and some of them, you know, are amazing. You know, I mean, I love working with great musicians and all that. So it's the insecurities, and this little philosophy as well comes to when we're mixing. Remember, we brought the subject up of premature mix to overextended mix and stuff like that. It's not trusting yourself.
No.
And sorry, I'm gonna go into something else, and we said maybe we'll talk about is your listening environment, right? But prior to that, I would say, guys, what do you think of on this matter? Rami, Brent, Amroth, Nikki, Red, everybody who's watching, what do you think of what Milton and what we're talking about, this whole insecurity and ego thing? Throw out a question, or throw out, please, we'd love to hear your comments on this and feed off from that. It's not just obviously only us you're listening to, we want to listen to you too as well. So by the time they reach this message, it'll be probably a minute later. We're probably off on another subject. So here's an important thing, you know, coming back to mixing and dealing with conflicts and whatnot, the listening environment, the being confident. I think confidence is key to everything. Be confident. Confident. You want to be more confident? That means practice your ass off. That means work harder. That means do not beat around the bush. Why did I bring this up? Because I'm seeing a lot of that these days. Music performance, yes, music performance and production. In general, I'm saying anyway, I'm not gonna name out names or stuff. I'm seeing that a lot. It's like, and you know, you can hear it. You can hear it. I can hear it. Whoever knows can hear it. I don't know why. Taking the shortcut to everything. There's no shortcuts.
Because
the reality,
it's easy.
Yeah, but the results, you know, it's this whole ego again coming to play. Ego. I want to be famous. I want to be this without doing the work. Well, sorry, man, but when you put your stuff out, you know, it's so transparent. You think people are stupid? Do you know what I mean? Sorry, I went off on a tangent there.
I won't answer that question.
I'm not. Let's not go there. Anyway, so coming back to the mixing and being insecure, I still get nervous, man, sending out a mix. I get shit like, fuck, are they gonna like it? Are they not gonna like it? Blah blah blah, all of that stuff. And you're like waiting for the revision or the notes, because that's what relieves you. It's like, oh, okay, cool. He likes the vibe, but he needs more hi-hat here, he needs more guitar here. The usual stuff.
You want to know something as well about that? Like, I don't think you should be. If you're confident about where you're working from, it's never a question. I'll be honest. You know, I hardly go to my car to listen to tunes anymore that I work on.
Because you know your sound.
I know my sound.
Yeah.
You have to remember that when the client hears it for the first time, it's going to throw them back because they haven't heard it that way before. For instance, I reworked a tune recently that was done by my now client. It's like a freebie project. We're working on it together.
Right.
And he mixed it. He had it completely differently, different sound. I made some recommendations, and I added those recommendations. And I sent him the track today, and he listened to it. And at first, he was like, "No, like this is weird. Why is like everything narrower, and why are only the synths that wide? Why are the vocals narrower, and why is it less wet and stuff?" And then give it like another hour or two, because I spoke to the vocalist on the track,
right.
And he's like, I think he's not comfortable with it. I'm like, give him 1 hour, 2 hours, he'll be okay with it. You know, we might make some changes after that, but I'm pretty sure he'll be okay with it. And I was right. The client, when they hear it the first time, they had a vision in their head, and it might have not translated exactly, but once you start getting used to it, and then you start comparing it to other tunes, they become more receptive to it, especially if you're 100% confident in what you're doing, unless the client's a real like.
But also depends on the client. It depends.
Exactly.
Some clients say, I want this sound. Okay, no worries. I'll give you that sound. I'll give him an alternate mix with my sound or with the sound I'm thinking, and that they might say, no, I don't like it. I want this sound. No worries. Or they might say, okay, I like that. No worries. Let's go on from there.
Exactly. You know, and this guy that I worked with that composed this tune, I think he's older than us. you know, like I think he's older, like he's 50, I think. Very nice dude. I actually spoke to him today, and he's been doing this for a long time, and he works with big names in Indonesia, you know. So for me, it was, I had the chance to work with somebody else, you know, and I was really glad that I did. You know, I may not know his name, but I know that he works the big game there. You know, a lot of people work with him. And I told him, I'm not trying to change your tune, you know, and I understand how you're feeling, because I'm in your boat when, if somebody were to take my work and try and rework it. But for the kind of track this is, I feel that we felt that they needed this, and so we added that. But your drums, for instance, are the foundation. I added only another 2 layers of, say, snare or kick, for instance, you know. And he received it well after listening to it a number of times. It's like, you know what, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
But can we make the vocals a little wider? No problem. I'll do it for you.
Exactly. And this is something, you know, coming to that is like, we got to explain, because we're working remotely. It's like when you get your first mix, hey, there's revisions, man. No worries. This is normal. What do you want in there? You know, let's go for it. So, but that's good. Now, coming to the listening environment, what we're talking about, now you don't listen to the car because you know your room, you know the sound of your room. There's, for the past 3-4 years, I did the last 2 records. My room was really hard to work with. It was so difficult. That's why I had so many revisions of my album going. Can you see me? I don't know. It keeps popping up on the stable. Anyway,
I see you.
Yeah, before we jump in, we got a few questions here before we jump into that. That was in relation to, I told you what we said before. People are gonna ask questions. So, hey, Rad, how do you deal with people who don't have egos and are nervous? You try to make them feel comfortable as possible, I suppose. Or I usually kick their ass. Yeah, you. How would you do it?
Me? Oh, it depends, like where I'm working. Like if I'm at work, for instance, like at DMI, I enjoy making them nervous. I don't know why. But generally, it all has to do with tone. But what? It's true. It's easy.
Milton, listen.
You know,
when I first met, I'm like, what is up with this dude? You know? And
a lot of people have said that to me. It's like, you know,
and then you get to know Milton. Is like, don't judge a book by its cover. I never judge you in a bad way. I was like, all right, dude, you need to pull that dildo out of your ass and loosen up for a second. But then I got to know who Milton is. Like, fuck, this is awesome. Said that the same thing about me, by the way. In that, so to make people feel nervous, it's in my nature.
It's
but in a good way, not in a bad way.
No, it's fun. I don't know.
But in a way, it's actually a good practice for people like you and me. Why? Because, you know, you have a certain sense of dominance around that. And there's people who are just sweet and shy, who are amazing at what they do. And for me, what I do is I leave the room. It's like, just do your thing. Relax. I don't need to be in here.
You know what it is? What makes a lot of people nervous? It's my face.
Oh, I don't doubt that for a minute.
Because of the way I look. I don't know. It's just the way I look. You know?
What
do you want me to smile all the time? Hey, man.
Well, now we broke the ice, right?
So. Yeah. If it comes to working with first-time people who are nervous, generally I raise the pitch of my voice a little bit.
And how does it sound?
Because the face with the voice, you know, and the way I talk as well, it's imposing for a lot of people. So, you know, something like, "Hey, how are you? Yeah, have a seat, no problem." You know, just a little bit, and it changes everything. It's the same with my cat. It's the same with my cat. My cat knows he's done something wrong. It's like, Achilles, you know. You know, but if I speak in a high-pitched voice, he responds completely differently.
Yep.
You know, so dealing with nervous people, it can be a treat. But again, I've learned that different people react differently to what's the word? To you, you know, to how you are. Now, it doesn't mean you change who you are. It more or less means like adapt, you know?
Yeah.
Because I'm never going to change who I am.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do that for anybody, you know? Especially when it comes to work ethic, it's like this for me, you know? We're doing it this way because it's better for you. It's good for me too, because I feel good doing it this way, but it's better for you, you know?
So you learn something about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've always been like that, I guess. I don't know, because I'm always adamant on getting it right, you know?
Right.
Not perfect, right.
That's important. I believe in that work. I'm completely with you on that work.
Yeah, exactly. So even if I'm dealing with clients and they'll tell me, hey, can we add the delay over here? You know, if I know it's gonna sound stupid, I'm like, no. Why? I'm like, trust me, it's not gonna work. We'll add it over here.
Value. This I always say that. Do you believe, like, my approach to that? What I learned is, like, I was doing the song and they wanted, I can't remember what it was, and it was they had a bass synth and a bass guitar playing. Like, the bass synth is playing something else. It's got like sub lows from 40 to 80, even below, and the bass with an octave going on, you know, from 80. And they're like, there's no point. I was like, and that is music.
They were playing different notes.
Kind of different. No, it's just like, it was like a big, if you want to play with the kick and I told him, sorry, and this was my approach. I was like, as a musician, I came about it. Forget about mix engineer. I said, compositionally, are you trying to, because the guys are putting so many things around, they think they're going to cover up. Like, dude, you're just covering up more shit for no reason. Music needs to breathe. Anyway, so I told them my approach was like, and I thought it was a good way, and they accepted it that way. Like, do you guys feel this bass synth is adding value to your song? And they thought about it for a second. They're like, no, it's not. Remove it. I didn't suggest it. I just said, you think it's adding value, you know? And they like removed it, and suddenly the song started breathing. You know, it was unnecessary to have that in there. Too much is good for nothing. Sorry, I'm going to jump in because we got a few comments, man, here, like, going on. So Brent's asking, how do you guys go about managing expectation of a mix? Your recommendation versus what the artist wants assumes is the way forward. I think you kind of answered that, or do you want to jump in and give it a go?
Look, you have to give the client what you want, but the client has to know who he's working with. You know, when people come to work with me, they know how I work. It's not like they.
What if it's a brand new client?
And then the approach is different. You have to, you have to inform them of your work ethic, for one.
How do you do that?
You be honest. You just be straightforward. You be like, look, listen, this is how I work. Okay. Example for voiceovers. Okay. A lot of clients now with the stay-at-home thing, they'll ask me to record voiceovers and be on Zoom. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to record 10 takes for you.
Yeah, while on Zoom.
They want me to be on Zoom while I'm recording.
Why is that?
No.
Why would they ask?
They want to hear it live, and then they want to tell you, maybe we can say it like this. No, not happening that way. Because number one, I'm not going to have my phone next to me while I'm recording, and then have you guys talk.
And then they can record it. And if you don't want to use it live, you don't need to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, listen, this is how I work. All right. I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm going to record 6-7 takes for you. All right. I know exactly how this script needs to be delivered. I've been recording for that long, and I can tell from the writing. You want a casual delivery, conversational delivery, etc. Blah, blah. No problem. I got it. Don't ask me to be on Zoom. I'll record 6-7 takes. I'll send them across to you. You want me to change something? No problem. Send me a message. I'll do it again. But don't ask me to be online. I don't work this way.
So, okay, cool. So for me, in my personal, like, how I started doing is I'll have a meeting with the guys first, and I'll listen to what they need and all of this stuff. And then, example, I will send them a breakdown email. You want me to mix this for you, so and so. Like, first of all, we need to do all the timelines, like a professional guideline. Example, send me tracks. And then, but my first question is always to them is like, guys, if something's not tracked well, do you have access? I'm just saying, in different scenarios, do you have access to a microphone or to re-record things? If something that we can do better, you know, sometimes they'll tell you, no, I don't. Okay, we'll work with what you have. Because again, going back to the source, right? So if they can do it better, you will sound better than slapping a million plugins for no fucking reason. They're getting the sound, all of this stuff. And moving it, and I found that was working for me. Obviously, everybody has his own thing, and I don't get emotional with it. In what sense? What do you think of the song? I always say, whether my opinion or not doesn't matter. It's what you guys like. Do you love this song? Is it your song? You love it? Great. I'm here to service and give you a mix, or to track your song, or help guide you compositionally a few things. You know, I know theory and all of this stuff. So that's the added benefit of having me in the studio with them. Performance. I'm all about performance in that. So if they accept that fact, then that's great. So even if they hire, like, I would never call myself a mix engineer or a master engineer. And I'm seeing this a lot lately. Like, look, dude, you got to earn your badge. If you're not Bob Clearmountain or CLA or Jackie King or any of these guys, please stop calling yourself a mix or master engineer. You're an engineer. That's it. Earn your damn badge, man. Not suddenly you have a laptop and a pair of speakers. You're called, you know, it's the whole, I got a camera now. I'm a photographer. You get what I mean? Besides the point,
bro, why you tread on their you know, their happiness?
So you got all my can of worms out with you, man, Milton. Me crazy fucker. But it's fantastic talking. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now and read the rest of the question. The other okay. What is that? You already ended up talking about it last. Okay. Amroth, I think it comes with experience too. In the beginning, when I was a sound engineer, my own ego would sometimes butt heads with a difficult client at work. Well, yeah, that's a maturity thing, I suppose, and just knowing how to.
Wait, what kind of client? Are you talking client at work as in a producer?
I don't know. He didn't mention. And then he has another comment right after that. He says, later on, I realized confrontation hampers the process. Diplomacy combined with assertiveness when needed was far better than battles of ego. Now he answered his own question. So, yeah, fair enough.
That is true. But sometimes, you know what my problem with the world today is?
I know you got
people expect you not to react. You know? They expect you not to feel anything. Now, it's a very fine thing balancing between your thought process and what you feel, and it takes time to develop that. And then you have the people who are dead inside and just don't react. You know, maybe they're just so used to it they don't care anymore or whatever. But sometimes some people deserve it.
Yeah.
You know, deserve it. Like, have you ever lost it at somebody?
Oh, many times.
Like, lost it. Yeah. It sucks to do it. Like, I'll say out loud, it sucks to do it, but sometimes it just needs to be done. Because otherwise it doesn't get through.
Yeah. And I think throughout the years, you learn how to do it in different ways.
Yes, exactly.
Rather than an emotional way. Because I feel when I used to do it in that emotional way, it was, I'm losing, not them. Even though they get yelled at or getting their ass fucking handed over to them. But I felt after that, I was the one who lost in that sense. I gave him that, but I lost because I lost my cool and my confidence in that. And I let the inner child, I should call it, snap out for no reason. I just scared them with the big tone. But the question is to get through to them in some ways.
But are we not all children?
Of course we are. Why do you think I have all these toys around?
You know, it's okay to lose it once in a while. If you keep losing it, then there's a problem. But some people just, you know, have you ever tried to talk to somebody and nothing gets through their head? It can be anything. It can be a client at work. It can be a client over here. It can be a family member. It's like nothing just gets through. It's just like, and you say it in the nicest way.
Why is that?
I don't know.
See,
it might be just you.
It might, exactly, because
you know,
I have been in that situation. I was like, I need to try a different strategy here, man. You know what I mean? But the problem is with that, look, guys, people online, the reason we're talking about these, I think these are very important personality traits to kind of look into, because you're going to be dealing with different artists, different musicians, or vice versa. And knowing how to do that, and like example, you're talking about getting through to people. But you know what's tiring about it? Like when you know you're not getting through this person, no matter how you say it and what you do it, you need to keep thinking of a different strategy, and that drains you. It drains me. It's like, for fuck's sake. You get what I mean?
Yeah, it's important though to have somebody who can help you with that. You know, it's important to realize when you've made a mistake as well, because a lot of times people don't realize they made a mistake. They will
Yeah.
not admit to it. You know, which sucks, but it's an unfortunate truth. And I think when only with experience, with age, and when you want to improve yourself is when you know when you've made a mistake. You'll know when you haven't made a mistake, but you definitely know when you have.
And accepting it.
Yep, exactly.
Made a mistake, because that's
So,
what self-development as well.
yep,
You only learn from your mistakes, not when you win. When you win, it's
Yep.
there. Easy. Learning how to lose from there.
yeah. So, yeah, dealing with clients, you know, it's a challenge. Everything is a challenge. You know, even mixing a track is a challenge. It's always there's always going to be challenges. But the difference between mixing tracks and working with challenges, working with people, is people don't talk back. People talk back. You know, uh, you have to be accommodating. One way or another.
It's all relevant to the situation, though. But yeah, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. There has to be gel in the studio when you're working together. When you're working with a group of people, there has to be gel. You know, when I work with Luki, we're like this. For instance, we've been working together for so many years. You know, he's 100% confident in my work. You know, which I'm very happy about. When it comes to writing tunes, we've collaborated on tunes. You know, generally when I work with musicians, I let them do their thing. I don't tell them what to do. You know, it was the same with Rami. It was the same with Joe. It was the same with Luki. It was the same with whomever else was on the record, Royden. You know, I'll lay down a foundation. I'll be like, guys, I would like to feature you here. I'm very sorry about that.
Sorry, you disconnected the USB. That happened to me last time.
No, somebody called. It was what did I want to say? What was I saying?
Letting the musicians do their thing.
Ruba, for instance, because Ruba's done both my artworks, Serge's wife.
Yeah.
My first album and my new album.
Nice.
I want you to listen to the album. I'm going to tell you what it's about. You know, it's this and that and this and that. I'm taking modern history, I'm gelling it with ancient history and creating a new story relevant to today's times, kind of thing. You know,
Right.
and you take it from there. I'm not going to tell you how to do your work at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the
And
key.
they come up. You know, I've had so many people comment on the artwork.
Oh, it's great.
On the artwork, you know, people have bought the old album because of the artwork. They didn't even listen to it on those, you know, those display stands that they had at Virgin and blah blah. You just think, I like the album, the cover. Let's go. All right.
Yeah,
Hey
there's
man, I bought your album. Haven't listened to it yet, but I really love the artwork. You know, so it's great because it's just like,
think about it. When we were kids, Thompson original tapes, we couldn't open the tapes, but I would buy like albums because the artwork was cool, and then I open like either it was shit or really good.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. So you know, you let the creatives do their thing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, in any media place, and that's the thing with working with pencil pushers is they don't relate.
Yeah.
You know, so when you work in, say, like you work in a department where you're doing audio, but you're dealing with management, you know, that tells you what has to go on television and blah blah. It's very difficult because you may have an idea and they could just kill it. You know, I'm talking about working corporate, mainly corporate stuff.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a clash between the pencil pushers and the creatives. You know, yes, okay. The pencil pushers have a point. It's got to address this clientele and it's got to do so and so down the line so that we make some money. 100%, totally agree. But it's always going to be a clash. You know, we need people who are a bit of both in the middle. Like they're creative, but this works too.
Right.
You know, I'm not saying that this doesn't work with creatives, but most of creatives is coming from here. It's hard. You know, that's what makes music.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that. Just this came to my thought right now. What is our job if you're mixing a song? What is your ultimate job when you're mixing a song? Is create a balance. And it's
Yeah.
funny, 'cause that also translates with people. It's creating that balance. We create a balance, great, we're in. You know, if
Everything's
balance is
balanced. Yeah.
off. Yeah, it's all about balance, I suppose. So speaking of balance, now I didn't bring this up, but I want to bring this up. Voiceovers. You have a magnificent talent in voiceovers. I mean, I watch your Instagram stuff all the time, and it just cracks me up. I saw the one you did with the Rick Ashley one. Was
Oh
it?
yeah, that one. Yeah, I had to time my singing to that. It's a filter, and
Oh,
it plays
I don't know.
the song, and it has the Rick Astley dancing. But I had to time when I started singing when I did that, because you can say anything.
Yeah.
While it's happening.
It's so funny. I was singing that song the day before, and I was on my Instagram. I was like, "This is a bit weird right now," but what the fuck? And then I just start cracking up. It was hilarious. So voiceovers. How did you come about to like? Did you have this knack within you, or when did you discover it, or did you always have it? And how did you make it a profession as well?
I was always doing sounds with my mouth, as a kid. Like even just sound effects. I used to have these little figurines. I used to make them fight. When you're a kid, you're laying in bed and you got them on your chest, and like Ninja Turtles and stuff. Mimicking people, mimicking sounds. And I got my first voiceover gig in 2000 and what was it? Beginning of 2002. It was before. What was it after? I can't remember. It was around 2002. It was for Nokia. I still remember it.
Right.
It was 8 pages long. I got paid peanuts. It was my first gig, and it was at BKP, Barry Kirsch's place. Yeah.
Where was he at that time? Because he's moved studios around.
He was in. I'm trying to remember. It was in. Was it in the Villa?
Was it in the Villa next to? I can't remember. Was it that one?
Game. I'm trying to
Game.
remember if it was Game Villa or. I can't remember because he used to be in Game, and they used to also be where Filmworks was. Exactly. But I don't remember which came first.
Filmworks was first because I did some work from there, and then he got the Villa opposite the police academy.
Police station, yeah. The police academy, yes.
That Filmworks area was great, man. They had this warehouse. Now it's still there, but they've turned it into this gym. Like they had all anyway.
Yeah.
So what was like? Yeah, go on.
So I started from there, and because of that, I started to get more work, but not regularly.
Right.
And then I traveled, and then I came back, and then I submitted my my reel to a whole bunch of studios when I came back.
So sorry,
I started.
So at that time, you thought that this was a prospect for you. It wasn't just a fun thing, just to go do a voiceover.
No, it was extra money.
Right, and you created it. No, because when you go out your way and you create a reel and blah blah blah. So you thought of it as an extra money and.
Yeah, and to get my name out there and do impressions and blah blah, and I get hired for a lot of that.
I know. I'm just saying how you got started, how you got reeled into it.
2007, I joined DMI. I was actually introduced to them by Barry. I was looking for a job in the studio. I went to Barry, but they weren't hiring at the time. But he put me in touch with the guys at DMI, and they hired me. And that's where I met Lukey. And then there was a promo that was supposed to go on air, and the artist who was supposed to record didn't come. So I ended up doing that.
Right.
And then from there, I became the voice of Dubai One because the producers liked what they heard, and they're like, "Listen, let's let's lock a deal. You do the voices for the voiceovers for Dubai One," and then it just kept, I've been doing it ever since. A lot of radio ads, documentary type recordings, PSAs. I do a lot of PSAs. Television ads. I've done an animation video with Omar Sharif before he passed. It was for the Year of Light It was done by, what were they called? Blink? Is that what they were called? Blink, yeah. A studio called Blink. Pretty cool. They showcased it in the IFF. I did 2 impressions of one African general and one Asian scholar.
All right. How was
It's a very
Asian school?
it was, I don't know. I'm not perfect at Asian, but it's okay. It's
Fucking love it. Amazing.
yeah. And African is always down here. It's always deep, So I had to do I did those 2 characters for it, and Omar Sharif was the star in the. He features in the beginning of the show, and it talks about the year of Light Ibn al-Haytham and all this, and they tell the story of his story.
Right.
So that was fun. I do a lot of impressions for I think I got hired once to do a Filipino accent. I was like, why didn't you just hire a Filipino? I mean, like, okay, I'm half Filipino, but like a guy with that accent.
Right.
I've gotten hired to do an Indian accent. It's like, really? We've got so many here. Like, you could find somebody who could do it. But I don't know. Like, they just want, somebody who's not from there to do it. So, sometimes you get on the mic and you have to make a recording for them. So
Fantastic, dude. You're amazing at it. Honestly, you're hands down. Not because I know you, but you are fantastic at it. I mean, to a point, like while you're doing this, I'm thinking, South Park, it's only 1 or 2 guys doing all the VOs on there. And isn't it Family Guy is the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? I forgot his name.
Um,
He can't act in real life for shit, but he's a good voice actor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be fantastic. Like if somebody can create a show for you to play all these things, it'd be legendary.
Actually, something might be coming soon. I can't say anything yet. I'm in talks with somebody who's, it's more in the podcast realm, but it's going to be fun. So we'll see. If that comes through, I will let you know.
So with things like this example, links and all that, can we throw a link? I mean, all I have is, your private government page on Facebook and obviously your personal. Is there another page where people can actually follow your kind of career within the whole realm of private government, who's Milton, and VO world? Like if you have something coming up like that, how would they know that this thing is coming up?
I need to work on my marketing.
So do I. So you need
one thing I suck at, it's marketing myself.
Yeah, we all are, man. I mean, we're
we
trying. We
rely on word of mouth, and it works. Do I want more presence? I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, I guess I wouldn't mind it. Especially for voiceovers. I really want to get into voice acting, like acting in a big film, doing characters.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Because it's like recording music. When you're voice acting, I'm not talking about voiceovers, regular voiceovers. Go now to the Ford showroom and buy yourself a Ford Mustang. It's not the same thing. I'm talking acting, and we don't have a lot of those over here. I really enjoy voice acting.
The thing is, like, the show, like I worked in NBC television for a long time. We started the kids channel, example.
Okay.
And then, do you know that show called Farij? The animation. Yes, this one. So when that first came out, funny enough, we were at NBC3 and we had a meeting with the guys and we were watching it. It was like, dude, this is fantastic. Like for what this region's produced, in some sense. Obviously I went to Dubai One and so forth.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I love harnessing amazing talent. Example, your voice acting skills is legendary. I'm not just laughing because I know you. Like, I didn't know you. You just cracked me up. Now, how do we go about that? Now you're saying there's something in the works for that. That'll be fantastic. And we're talking about marketing example. Now, yes, you do want to market. You put all your hard work into when you put your private government album out. Marketing is 90% of the bloody thing. And also was the key to it is, let's go into this subject. You're not good at marketing. I get my balls busted all the time about marketing and posting on social media and all of this crap. I try my best. I can't stand it. You know, people, I made the video. I don't know if you saw the studio tour. I did a video of studio tour of my studio. And then I put that out. I'm like, cool. And then some people started asking me, how do you mic guitars? How do you do this? Can you make videos? I'm thinking to myself, why the fuck do you care, man? You know, like if I want to watch someone miking guitar amps, I'd watch the best of the best, which is Andrew Sheps, Joe Barresi, blah, blah, blah. And whoever has done videos on YouTube, you know, talking about how they record their tones or whatever it is, they learn from the best of the best. So why would I watch them? This is my personal opinion. I'll watch the big guys because those guys have the maturity, the wisdom of how to do things. All the other guys are just copying, right? The reason why I'm bringing this up because of the marketing thing. So this is why a part of it, I decided, are you all right? You squinting? Huh?
I'm listening.
So I wanted that's why I started doing this. The big part for me is to bring this community together and talk to people like you. We are, you know, as mates, and we're talking about our experiences. I was like, oh, how did you do this, Milton? How did you do that, Milton? What did you use for that? Yeah, that's part of it. But for me, it's what was the vision behind doing what you do? You know, because that's the key.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So when it comes to marketing, I felt for me personally to do something like this is more personally engaging. For a person like me, I'd rather watch something like this rather than, hey, check out my new microphone and look what it can record. Blah blah blah. It's amazing because you know what I'm talking about, right? So there. I mean, I've learned a lot from these videos. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to do that honestly.
Yeah.
And with your talent, this fantastic voice acting, like I would love to have you in my studio. Say, listen, Milton, step away from the controls. Focus on the U47, which I have, turn around, and I'm just going to press record, and you go for it and trip in your own worlds. You know what I'm saying? Man, but I have to be out the room because I won't stop laughing, man. That's the problem, you know?
I've done so many cool voiceover takes for fun. You know, I did a Predator. The movie Predator?
Of course.
So Lukey and I were at work and we're like, okay, you know what? Let's cut scenes from the movie and dub everything. All right.
You have it out on social media?
No, it got taken down for copyright infringement. But I have it somewhere in my system. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. And especially when you have somebody who writes a good script.
Yeah.
Talking about voice impressions, I'm posting a link on the comment section now. I had to do a Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny impression a long time ago to promote the Buy One cartoon. It's one of my prouder moments with it. Feel free to check it out. It's fun. I've got a whole bunch of other videos there of different things that I do. But yeah, I have to work on my marketing. I'm not very good at it. What we did for private government, the reason that our follower count on that page jumped 7-fold almost, from when we started marketing the album. And that's because of
great album.
How, thank you very much. We strategized how we were going to promote it. And Joe was handling all that. That's his forte, because he's in PR. So he's like, okay, let's do it like this, like this, like this. I'd come up with the ideas of how we could introduce, say the members, for instance. And then we had those videos come in where, it shows a photograph of us and then we just turn into statues, and that was a lot of Ruba's work, all that. But after that, we absolutely suck at it because you get sucked into the work, and the daily life. And it's extremely difficult when you're not a professional musician. You don't have a management team that handles all that for you. For you to do it yourself and to do it effectively. You want to hire a company to do it? Sure. It's going to cost you $7,000. Oh, great. All right. It's just do I want to put all my money into this record? How much is it going to sell? I do this music for fun. Yeah. I don't know about you, but for me, it's for fun. So I may print 200 records. I may sell only 100, but I lived that experience. And there's 100 people out there that have this record.
Yeah.
and I'm okay with that.
That's all right. That's all right. I think because look, man, making a record is making a record, man. It's not a joke, and
Yep.
like so much heart and soul you put into it. Um, but coming back to your point, what you're saying is like we need proper, I would call business managers who are hungry to know how to go get things for artists like yourself or myself.
There are.
Who are business savvy and know the industry, because in the end, our industry needs to branch out as well. We
Yeah.
have our thing here, but branching out and putting this talent, your talent example. Anyway, off on a tangent. Marketing. Let's leave it at that. How about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a tough subject, and it's you know, people every day here they talk about the music industry and what it's lacking, and it's what is this and what is that, and people don't come together. And you know why they don't come together?
I know a lot of reasons why. Yeah.
Forget
But
the people themselves, okay? But back in the day, we used to have a lot of people go to gigs,
Mhm.
and this was before, everything changed with regulations and rules and laws and all this license to have a performer perform on stage. Any kind of performer. You could be a singer, you could be a giving a monologue. You got to have a license, and it costs an arm and a leg. It's not cheap. We didn't used to have this back in the day. When you remove this requirement, things will change. You can say anything about anything otherwise, but when you remove this requirement, when it doesn't become expensive to have an artist on stage, because like say you want to have a gig at a bar, all right, the bar is going to have to meet their minimum at the end of the night. They have to sell a certain amount. It's a business at the end of the day. So it's not like they don't want to support you, but they got to make money because you know month in, month out. That's just how it works with every business. And that's the difference between, like, say, musicians who haven't, really learned to earn their keep, you know, in the sense that they don't know what it is to spend money to get something back, you know. Uh,
make money, as they say, in some way.
yeah, so if you have 5 people on stage, each is how much is the license? 1,500, 2,000 dirhams. That's already 2 times 5 people, 10,000 dirhams just for them to get on the stage and pluck that bloody guitar, you know?
There's a bigger picture, I believe, Milton. Sorry, I mean, I understand completely where you're coming from that, but there's a bigger picture than this in many ways for the music scene here. Look, I hear a lot of complaining and all. I'm like, dude, you know what? Get out of here. If you want to do something, you put your head to it. You do it. It's like once you said, which is very interesting. If someone wants to buy a guitar, they're not gonna, and whoever wants to buy a guitar, it's a big investment. They'll go out of their way, take a taxi or whatever it is, go to the shop and buy it. They're not gonna wait. Oh, I couldn't go, didn't buy it because I don't have transportation. You said that once, which is the same thing with music.
Yeah.
First off, I'm going to start off with this. I know this might piss people off, but this is the truth and this is the reality, and we need to face it. The permits, yes, it is part of the problem. I've been, I've been gigging musicians I've been a gigging musician for the past 20 years on a pro level and independent level and whatnot. I left that scene for my own certain reasons and for creative reasons. If the musicians want to accomplish something, want to do shows, you can put a show together and do it, right? But there's something bigger than that. Work on your shit. Guys, work on your stuff. Learn the basics. Stop cutting corners. Not everyone. I'm saying, you know who you are. Do it. Do it. It's better for you. It's better for us. I'm not losing anything. You're just gaining something, but you just have to put the time and effort to do it. And watch how everything blooms. Watch how people come to you. People don't come to shows, blah blah blah. Yeah, and there's also this mentality of segregation here, which makes me laugh. Get out of here, Anyway, I lived in the U.S. for good 8-9 years, and I saw how the music scene is there. There are very battling things, but there's a different mindset of how community works there within the music.
Yeah.
And there's dozens to hundreds of amazing bands and shitty bands and great bands, but the way you think of it is completely different than what we're here. We're a handful of people, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so much talent. Don't get me wrong, so much talent, but develop your talent. What I'm trying to say is, guys, develop the talent, develop it, mature.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing, you know, that's the thing, you know, we're a small community over here. People take things for granted. You know what I'm grateful for?
No.
When I was performing, when I was playing, when I was with Aneurysm, we had the chance to open for a lot of big bands. It's not the same everywhere else, you know. There's a lot of opportunity here in that respect, you know.
I have.
Well, now, yeah, you have, we have, I have, they have. You know, it's you know, everybody's had it. You know, those that have pushed themselves to get what they want, they've had the chance to meet their idols
100%.
one way or another, play for big bands that only other bands in countries like the United States can dream about. Not everybody gets to open for Metallica. Not
No.
everybody gets to open for Yngwie Malmsteen or Dark Tranquillity or all of these bands, you know, and Black Sabbath. You know, that was my last gig, opening for Black Sabbath. You know, it was the highlight for me.
I know.
I wasn't a big Black Sabbath fan, but, you know, just meeting one of the founders of the genres of rock that I like, was something else for me, you know. And I'm grateful that we had that opportunity with, you know, with all the guys from Aneurysm. They released a new track, by the way. It's kick-ass.
Amazing! I heard it yesterday.
You heard it? Yeah, it's really good. It's really
Well
good.
Composition, I'd say musically, compositionally, it's.
That's a lot of John and John's work. He's
bravo,
you know, John. I think so, but knowing from the past two albums, because I'm not working with them on the new one. It's usually John who does the composition work. Jay's on the keys, and I think they have some other new musicians in there. Nadim's on the vocals there on that track, though. He did a killer job.
Yeah, he did.
Killer job. Yeah. I love Nadim's voice. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, people here take things for granted, you know. But it is what it is.
Well, you got to get up every day and love it. And if you truly love something, you will make it happen, my friend. That's the way
true.
I've been doing it all my life. I work all my life for the music, for everything. I did it all for the music, and I still am. I have not reaped any benefits from it. Well, yes, there are many great points I've had in my life, opening for big bands, getting album nominated, you know, globally, whatever. Fantastic deal, all of this shit. So there are little accomplishments, but I do it because I love fucking music. Not because it's popularity concerts, because I fucking love it and I'll always do it. Because it burns. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So let the passion. Don't skew your passion away from what you love because you want to get more popular. No. Work on this. And as you said, marketing team to do it.
You know, I worked with Juliana Down on their record in 2013. I have it up there somewhere. It's a record that never really took off.
Okay.
In 1 month, we recorded, mixed, produced, mastered it. In 1 month. It was very, very last minute. Because they had to deal with the record label here. I don't remember who it was.
Sony.
Sony. It was Sony.
Yeah.
After that album, they never did anything with it. But if you listen to it, it's a nice record. It's a commercial type record, you know.
They got their own sound going on.
Yeah. Well, they now it's different for them. I don't know what they do now. I think it's more electro something. I don't know what the genre is. They
kind of like and well, they are together, but I don't think they're like activating Juliana Down as much.
Yeah. That record, that band, like they could have, I don't know.
But they did well with the last record they put out. That was a good record, man. You know, the one with heart? It's hard leveled over the CD.
Yeah, that's the record. Yeah. That's the record I worked on.
It did well for them. Then they go to West for it. Yeah. That's the one you did? That's a great song.
Yeah, that's the one I did. Yeah. It was, dude, like that was like 1 month. And that issue with the mastering, like with that you were talking about, like knowing where to stop and then overdoing it, that happened at the mastering stage for me.
Oh, really?
One day I was like, you know what? Reset the EQ. I reset the EQ, just did minor shelving, exported, send.
It sounds good, man. It's a great sounding record. I like it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I thought they did very well with that. I thought maybe you were talking about another record they did.
No, that record. There was, what was it? Empires.
Empires, right?
Yeah, we worked so hard on that album, man. We worked so hard on that album. One of the tunes, the slower tune, the one that's very Guns N' Roses-ish, November Rain, all
Right.
the synth work in there, that was here.
Right.
That was me, you know? I'm very proud of that particular tune. If you guys, I don't know where you can find that album online. It's called Juliana Down Empires. Have a listen to it. There's a lot of good records that have come out of here. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying there's a lot of good music that have come out of here.
Yeah, 100%. But you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to keep doing it. Don't stop because I failed. Who cares? Just keep doing it. That's what I meant to say before. Maybe if people took it the wrong way, it's like, do not stop. Just keep going. Keep creating.
Yep.
Keep going, no matter how long it takes.
It's hard though, man. Sometimes you just, if you depend on other people receiving it, then it can demotivate you. And you have to sometimes remember not to let that get in the way.
Yeah, man, that comes back to how much you love it.
Yeah,
how much
that's
you want.
true. If you love it that much, you never leave.
Yeah.
You never stop doing
I
it.
don't do it for that reason. I do it because I love it first. I love
Exactly.
Anyway, Milton, I think we need to do another one of these. We're reaching our 2-hour mark at this moment. And time went by really quick. It was fantastic talking to you. It was really a lot
too, man. Yeah.
I hope
What is
people.
this?
Sorry.
Ruba is amazing. Your Red is saying. Sound of Nomads. Greetings, amigos. Hey, David Attenborough. It's not so difficult. Rami, it's all, a walk in the woods. There goes the little hamster. If I get a little bit closer, it'll sound a lot more intimate. Yeah.
It's well done at the end, eh?
Yeah. That's always how he does it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get hired for that too. Actually, I got hired. I auditioned for 2 roles once for a museum in Shindaga.
Okay.
That they open over there. An old man narrating his story and a young narrator. Like there was 2 voices in there. I got hired for the old man.
Right.
I'm a young dude. It's like, but we want you to imagine that you're a former diver and you remember what it was like diving for pearls. All right. So, and that's the voice acting. So I'm not standing in front of the mic. And this is what I'm talking about, right? But with voice acting, I'm like, okay, I have to lower the mic and I got to sit down and I got to pretend I'm this old guy. So I'm sitting there and I have the script below me and I'm just like, and I'm reading the script. Once upon a time, when I was a lot younger, it was a different time. I used to dive for pearls, but we didn't have those, scuba diving black suits and everything, but you got to act it, that's what voice acting is. You
100%.
Get sucked in it. Oh, I love it.
That's
So yeah, but I'm looking forward to coming and checking your place out, man.
Oh, please do, man. The place is yours anytime you want. Just swing by, bro. Swing by.
We need to organize that. I'd invite you to mine too, but mine is a far more simplistic setup. I'm a guy with a simple set of really good tools that does the work.
Yeah, that's kind of what I have. I just took it to I don't know. I've always wanted a great studio, my dream. So made it happen. But I built it with my hands, so if that's any consolation.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, you are more than welcome anytime over here. Whatever you need to do, man, you're welcome. Milton, it's fantastic talking to you. And we have
good talking to you too, man.
Bring you back again. And I want to say
we can do a trio with Lukey or something, Like Lukey's a good guy to talk to. He's been around for a long time, like with the hip hop music scene. Like
I know.
And
Well, okay, you ruined the surprise, goddamn. My Lukey's coming up next Sunday.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Excellent.
And I was just for those whoever's listening, I was just gonna ask you, do you want to join in on that on Sunday? But of course, you had to screw it up right now.
You didn't have to answer.
Well, you said
Who told you to answer?
Stop mentioning it anyway. But no, that'll be great because I'd love to have. And I was just thinking when we mentioned Lukey and stuff, because you guys know each other. I don't know. I know Luke is fantastic, dude. I love this guy. You guys know each other very well, and I thought maybe okay, this is the time where we have the menage a trois on the Zoom YouTube live, which I haven't had yet.
A threesome.
I think we need to cut it off at this moment.
Yeah,
but
let's cut it off.
so
I think
much.
it's
Thanks so
hit
much.
the 2-hour mark. Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, thank you so much for being involved with this live chat. It was amazing, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thank you a lot. And
Always remember, guys, balance between this and this. There's no either or.
Yeah, true. There you go. Last wise words from a wise man.
Oh,
All right, dude. Well,
hello, bro.
all right. So
Good talking to you. We'll speak soon.
see you later.
See you, man.